Agotevach, this is Gemar Nedarim, Daf Nun Gimel. And we pick it up on the very top of Nun Gimel Amid Aleph as you begin a new Mishnah. And today, Baruch Hashem, will be concluding the sixth parak of Nedarim. So says the Mishnah, Noider Mina Tamarim Mutter Bidvash Tamarim. One who makes a neder against Tamarim, not against, but one who makes a neder forbidding himself from eating tamarim, from eating dates, is allowed to eat davash tamarim, date, honey. Similarly, says the Mishnah, mistavniyais, if one made a neder forbidding winter grapes, mutter bechoimetz sitvaniyais. He's allowed to eat winter grape vinegar. So again, this is a very similar continuation for everything that we've been learning, that we're discussing the entities that transform into our derivatives of, etc. So a neder from dates does not forbid date honey, and a neder from winter grapes does not forbid the vinegar of them. Rav Yehuda ben Beseira Imer says, Rav Yehuda ben Beseira, Kol sheshem tol dasai kru alav. Whenever the name of the tolda, whenever the tolda, the derivative, has the same name as the item that which it comes from, v'noider heimenu, and he made a neder from that original entity, aser b'yaitze heimenu, then he's forbidden from that which comes from it. So if the derivative carries the name of the item itself, for example, hanoider minat tamarim, Devash tamarim is a derivative of tamarim. It's date honey, and it contains the word date. So if I made a neder from dates, I'm allowed to have date honey. But says, if you do Messiah, no. Since date honey has the same name as date, it's date honey, it's forbidden as well. But the Chachamim matirim, the Chachamim allow. Now, obviously, from a cursory glance at the Mishnah, anyone who is paying attention, we realize that it's seemingly Rav Yehuda ben Beseira argues on the Tanakam. Tanakam says Motor, Rav Yehuda ben Beseira says Aser. Chachamim matirim. Chachamim, what are you doing? So ask the Gemara that a precise question. Chachamim ainu Tanakama. Seemingly the Chachamim that conclude the Mishnah are literally restating the exact din of the Tanakama. So explains the Gemara, there is a difference. Hadad Tanya. The difference is that which is the following brisa taught. Klal Zalmer of Shimon Elazar. This is the rule of Rav Shimon Elazar. So Rav Shimon ben Elazar is going to be the nafkamina between the Chachamim and the Tanakama. So we're going to end off, just to try to keep this simple, Tanakama, Rav Yehuda ben Beseira, Rav Shimon ben Elazar. So the Chachamim are going to be Rav Shimon ben Elazar. That what? Says Rav Shimon ben Elazar, Kol shedarkoi lechol v'derech hayoytzi mimenu lechol. Any entity that is eaten, and that which comes from it is eaten, they're both regular normal items that are food and are edible and are normal to be consumed. Kigoin, for example, tamarim udvash tamarim. Dates and date honey, they're two perfectly normal edible entities. Then, says Rashba, says Rav Shimon Elazar, Nadar boy, Aser b'yetz menu. Since both are regular normal entities, therefore, if I made a neder from it, the item that derives from it is forbidden as well, because that as well is a regular food entity. Tamarim, davash tamarim. Noider miyoytze mimenu. But if I made a neder from that which comes from it, aser boy, then you're forbidden it as well. So if an item is edible, and both forms are edible, the item and the derivative, the tamarim, the date, and the dvash tamarim, the date honey, then a neder from either one asers the other. But, continues Rav Shimon Elazar, kol she'ein darkoi lechol, if the entity itself is not normally in, v'derech hayoytze mimenu lechol, but that which comes from it is yes eaten, then noider boy, if you made a neder from it, Ein aser ela b'yotzei mimenu. That's the chiddush. Since the item itself is not eaten, the derivative is yes eaten. Therefore, in such a scenario, if one made a neder from the item itself, and again, an item itself that is not normally eaten, then the halach is what was really his kavanah, that which comes from it. Because that is the normal edible entity. Sheloi niskavin zeh, because what was his intent? Ella liyotzei mimenu. And that is going to be what the Chachamim, when they come along and they are matirim, when they're coming along, if they're saying this final dot of this chiddush of Shimon Elazar, that the only way it goes both ways, like Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, is only if both items are edible. But if only one item is edible, then it does not. Then whatever he does, he's really only intending the edible entity. And we continue with the next Mishnah, halfway down, Nun Gimel Amud Aleph. Hanoider min hayayin. Someone makes a neder from wine. Mutter biyayin tapuchim. He's allowed to eat apple wine. Min hashemen. If someone made a neder from oil, mutter b'shemen shum shemen. He's allowed to eat sesame oil. Min hadvash. He made a neder from divash, from honey. Mutter b'dvash tamarim. He's allowed to have date honey. Min ha'chaymetz, if the neder was from vinegar, mutter b'chaymetz sitvanios. He's allowed to have winter grape honey, vinegar, Min ha'krishin, if you made a neder from a leek, mutter b'kaplutois. He's allowed to eat a certain type of leek that has a head. Min ha'yorok, he's allowed to from greens, mutter, greens, vegetables, mutter b'yorokos hasadeh. Then he's only allowed to eat regular field veggies, shehu shem lavoi, which is the normal name that you refer to vegetables by. So we continue with a Mishnah with a very similar theme, that anytime you make a neder, what is included in your neder? That which is normally referred to by that word. So if the neder is from wine is forbidden, but is apple wine forbidden? The answer is no, because wine by itself is not referred to as apple wine. As if we look at the Ran over here, the Ran says that Nedarim tamarim misitvanios muter b'chay misitvanios. Sitvanios anavim she'enon misbashlim v'aymedes be'achayif. Okay, that we knew already. The winter grapes are not fully ripe. Kol sheshem told. No, excuse me, that's the previous Mishnah. 1 second, I was reading the wrong Ran. Here we go. The Ran is towards the bottom, about 10 lines to the bottom of the Amud. Says the Ran, Hanoider min hayayin yumuter b'yayin tabuchim. Then you're allowed to have this apple, and why? So explains the Ran, the kivan sheyesh l'shem lavoi, because it's not called wine, it's called apple wine. It's a different entity. Loi mikri yayin stam, explains the Ran. So it's not referred to as regular wine, and therefore if his neder was from regular wine, he only is forbidding regular wine and not apple wine. So back into the Gemara. Tanya, we learned in a Braisa, and this is honing in on the part of the Mishnah that referred to oil. Time appropriate, as Chanukah is on the horizon, how beautiful to have a Mishnah all about oil as we prepare for Chanukah. So Tanya, we learned in a Braisa, Hanoider min hashemen be'eretz Yisrael. If you made a neder from oil in Eretz Yisrael, muter b'shemen shum shemen, you're allowed to have sesame oil. V'aser b'shemen zayis, but you're not allowed to have shemen zayis. Why are you not allowed to have shemen zayis? Didn't we just say that wine and apple wine are two different entities? So shemen and shemen zayis are two different entities. So says the Ran, no. What's the reason? As everyone is anticipating, the reason is the Be'eretz Yisrael einon mistapkim klal elo b'shemen zayis. What is oil? You walk into a store in Eretz Yisrael, can I get some oil? They hand you olive oil. In Eretz Yisrael, that is the oil that is used. Excuse me, and therefore that is the oil that's going to be forbidden. Now, Obviously, this very probably has to do with the norms of society, etc. As we see right now that the Mishnah continues, the Gemara continues. Ube Bavel, Aser b'Shemin Shunshmin. That in Bavel, if one makes a neder against oil, what's oil in Bavel? Sesame oil. Umutter b'Shemin Zayis. And you're allowed to have olive oil. Seemingly, I would assume that maybe here in America, what's oil? Probably canola oil. And olive oil is no longer the stam oil, but again, you have to get into the stats of such a scenario. Continues the Gemara, in a place where they use both. So now, aser bazeh bazeh. Then if you made a neder from oil, both are included. Says the Mar Pshita. Obviously, they're both included if you just said shemin stam. Lo yitzricha deruba minchan mistabkin. And this is going to be like we just pointed out. If the majority is one, so ma'u detema izel basa ruba, as I just explained in the Hava Amina, one would think, go by the Rive. If regular oil roiv is canola, then canola is forbidden. If regular oil roiv is shemin zayis is forbidden. That's what you would think. Kamash Malon, and the Chiddush is no. We don't go by roiv. Why? Because Safik Isura L'chomra is a doubt of an Isser. We're not sure what is included in your neder. And it's true that maybe majority is canola, but the other oil is a readily used entity, and therefore they're both going to be forbidden. If we just go back to that Ran that we read, what did the Ran say? Very important, 6 lines from the bottom. In Eretz Yisrael, Einam Mistapkin Klal. Not that they use more. They don't use it at all. There's no such thing. Bisman Chazal, Bisman Gemara, of sesame oil in Eretz Yisrael was exclusively olive oil. Nowadays, of course, with all different oils, we'd fall into that which the Gemara says. The Havamina would only be that which is rive, and the Chiddush is that both items are included. Continues the Gemara, 4 lines at the end of Nun Gimel Amud Aleph. Hanoider min hayarek b'shnar shnei shavua. Someone makes a neder from vegetables in any of the years, non-Shemitah years. Aser, what is he forbidden? Tibi Yerakas Hagino. The garden veggies, Umotibi Yerakas Asata. But the vegetables, the wild vegetables, that he's allowed to eat. Because when one says veggies in a regular year, he's referring to regular veggies, not the wild ones. But Bishvi is obviously everything flips. Then also Yerakas Asada, that's the only entity that you could eat. Umoter, and you're allowed to have Yerakas Hagino. Amar Ravavu Amishar Rachanina ben Gamliel. So says Ravavu in the name of Rachanina ben Gamliel, commenting on this last point that we just said. Lo yishanu ela b'makom shein meviim yarek mechutz la'aretz la'aretz. This only is going to work in a world like Chazal, like this man Gemara, that they do not transport the vegetables from outside of Eretz Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael. Avol. But nowadays, if vegetables are imported and exported, then even the garden veggies are going to be forbidden in the Shemitah year. So continues the Gemara. Says the Gemara, this final halacha is indeed a machlokes Tanoim, as we see in Mevin Yarek Mechutz La'aretz La'aretz. Rav Chanina ben Gamliel Omer Mevin Yarek Mechutz La'aretz La'aretz Mai Taima Deman Damer Ein Mevin Omer Rav Yirmiyah Mishom Gosh. What is the reason? According to what is the reason that according to the Man Omer that says you cannot bring in veggies from outside of Eretz Yisrael to Eretz Yisrael? The reason is because of the glush. Cause of the clod of earth. Let's just read the Ran on this line. Says the Ran, what's the gosh? Chayshin la'aviyoi mishom chashasha di gosh. Because the concern of the gosh, the concern of a clod of gurv hanidbak boy, that might be connected to the produce. V'gusha d'eretz amim Tameh, as we learned in Shabbos. So if I'm importing tomatoes, on my tomatoes, I might have a little bit of dirt from America, or Egypt. As those tomatoes come into Eretz Yisrael and they mix with the ground there, I'm being mitame the stuff there. That's what the Mandamer holds. It would not be allowed to do that. And we continue and we conclude the Perek with another Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Min HaKrov, continuing the theme of the previous Mishnah, when I make a neder from one entity, what is included? Says the Mishnah, if one makes a neder from krov, from cabbage, asar beis pargois, he's forbidden to have his pargois, umoter ha'is pargois. Excuse me, asar beis pargois. One more time. Min hakrov asar beis pargois. If he made a neder from krov, he can't have his pargois. Min aspargois, if you made a neder from aspargois, then mutter bikrov. One is included, but it doesn't go both ways. Min hagritzim aser b'mikvah. This will make it a little bit clearer because these items we know a little bit easier. Grisin are the grits. We'll call them oatmeal grain pieces. Aser b'mikvah. Then you can't have oatmeal, the porridge. If I make a neder from the oats, I can't have the porridge. That makes sense. Rav Yosi matir min hamikvah. But if I make a neder from the porridge, from the oatmeal, mutter b'grisin. Then the raw oats, the toasted oats, are not oatmeal. Therefore, that would be allowed. Min hamikvah aser b'shom. Continues the Mishnah. If one makes a neder against mikvah, certain type of potted dish, he's not allowed to have garlic, which was a staple in such a dish. Rav Yosi matir min hashom. If someone makes a neder from garlic, mutter b'mikvah, then he's allowed to eat the potted food. Min hadashim, aser b'ashishim. If one makes a neder from hadashim, from lentils, you're not allowed to have ashishim, which is honey fried lentils. Rav Yosi matir min ashishim. If you made a neder from the honey fried lentils, mutter b'hadashim. Chita, chitin, shani tayim. This should bring bells from 2 days ago. If someone makes a neder, wheat or the plural of wheat grains that I will not eat, aser bahen bein kemach bein abas. You're not allowed to eat them in either form, whether it's the raw flour or the bread. Grisin, shani tayim. If someone says grits or the plural of grits I will not taste, aser mechayim v'shalom. You're not allowed to have rather raw or cooked entities of these grisin, of these grits. Rav Yehuda Amerikainim gris or chita shani tayim, then mutter lakus chayim. You're able to chew them while they are raw. So says the Gemara, let's take the Mishnah and let's expound it to more cases. Tanya, we learned in a Braisa. Rashbaga, Oimer says Rishim Yomniel. Chita shani tayim. So it says, I'm not going to taste wheat. Asr labois. What is the halacha? He's not allowed to bake umoter lakus. But he's allowed to eat them raw. Chitim shani toyim. He's not going to taste it. Then aser lakus, you're not even allowed to chew it. But umoter labois, you're allowed to bake with it, because when you bake with it, it's considered a different entity. Chitim shani toyim. But if you said both, then aser bein lakus bein labois. And of course, we can understand that when you add on more words in your neder, you're include more places. It's the same thing. Someone says grits, I'm not going to taste. You can't cook with it, but you could chew on it. Grisin shani tayim, also lakos, because that's the normal thing to do with the grisin, with the plural grits. But umutter labashel. Grisim shani tayim, he said both, then aser bein labashel, bein lakos, then you're not allowed to do either one. Hadron halach, hanoider min hamavushal. We should definitely do a hadron. We definitely have to come back. We definitely have to do a chazara on this incredible parak, v'siyata d'shmaya. And as we go into Chanukah, we should go in with a new parak, a new daf, and Amir Hashem with more chazara and clarity each and every day.